I can give it a go. I've only got 2 hours parking before they find me.
Welcome to Would John Rather. Apologies for last week's episode. We had conflicting schedules, but we're back to it this week. In fact, we're back to it and so dedicated because, well, John, what's all that noise?
I'm in a service station robbing up Shell's Wi-Fi next to the M1. I've stopped on my way home because this is the only time we can actually all sort our lives out, and it's ever so slightly less noisy than the horrible sound cabin conditioning in the Corsa that I've been given. It's awful in there. For a new car, it's terrible. Don't buy a Corsa. That's my recommendation for the week.
And if you're interested in what I'm doing, I'm John, and I just took a delivery of 20 boxes.
Just boxes?
Yeah.
Nothing in them?
Not presently.
Oh.
No, because when you want to move house, you don't want more stuff to move. You want empty boxes.
Oh, are you moving house?
Yeah.
So you bought boxes?
Yeah.
You don't just go to
I just used to rob them from work.
Yeah, or go to the supermarket and say, can I have some boxes, please?
Well, I've done that as well, but I can't. I'm quite lazy, and I don't have a car, so carrying 20 boxes home is kind of just annoying.
Well, you should have planned ahead and just got one every day for the past 20 days.
Should have planned ahead and recorded an episode.
Yeah, exactly, John.
Last week.
Just to confirm as well, because hopefully the listeners know the kind of person you are by now after, 15, 16 months of doing this. Did you buy the boxes to put your stuff you currently own in to move, or were you just in the market for some boxes and couldn't wait until you'd move to buy more stuff?
Yeah, I just wanted loads of boxes.
Okay, that's fine.
Remember, Johnny's a cat. He will appreciate his box swap that he's going to make himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify, I don't actually own any stuff. I just have boxes.
Just boxes of different sizes.
I needed something to move into the new house with. This is like the equivalent of furniture.
To be fair, when I was at uni, I used to work in a cafe just opposite the student accommodation that I lived at, and I finished work, and I phoned my friend James, and I went, James, I need you to meet me outside of work in 5 minutes. It's absolutely urgent. He went, right, I'll get dressed and I'll be right there. And he came over to work and he went, what's so urgent? And I was stood outside having a cigarette, and I went, they're just about to throw away inside like 50 of the biggest flat-packed boxes you've ever seen. He went, I'm glad you called. And between us, we lugged as many of these boxes home with us, built them all up in the front room, and built a fort. And all the girls came home from work and went, what are you doing? And it was like the episode of Friends, and we just popped up from behind wearing witches' hats that we got for a penny from Asda because it was around Halloween time. We were like, no girls allowed, and then popped back in. So...
Amazing.
And we didn't let the girls dismantle it for a week. Made cooking interesting.
So that leads on to 2 of my questions. First question this week.
Wait. Can you dive right in?
I'm trying to. As a HGV just rolls past me.
Yeah, so just apologies, folks. As you can tell, I'm not exactly the best at editing, and I don't know how to edit out Midlands traffic.
Midlands traffic. Okay, yeah. That nice little opening comment has led me to 2 of my pre-prepared questions. The first one is, would you rather go to jail or North Korea?
Jail.
I'd rather go to North Korea.
Tell me more.
Well, I'm one for niche tourism destinations. I don't think there's any better satisfaction than going into the office and they go, where did you go this weekend? And you can name a place that no one else has been to.
Or heard of.
So that I think most people have probably heard of North Korea.
No,
but...
okay, that's not what I meant, but do continue.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And if you said that you'd been to North Korea for the weekend, then you're probably going to have the attention of everyone for the next few minutes because everyone's going to be really interested.
The fact you came back alive, that's something.
I mean, before I say anything else, that doesn't line up with you because I thought you don't like other people or their attention. So surely you'd be better off going to like Skegness.
I've never said anything about not liking people's attention. but it doesn't mean I like them.
Oh, you like attention, but just not the people giving it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I apologise. I guess one of the benefits of you specifically to be going to North Korea is, as you're such a fan of boxes, and by the looks of things from the photos that people have shared, all of their shops that are fully stocked of food are actually just boxes with window fronts painted on the front of them. That does marry up with what it is that you like. So
No, that's
I'm
not what I
nothing
was
if
on about.
not consistent.
I was on about you with your witch's hat saying girls weren't allowed in. Well, John's going to go to North Korea and Western's not allowed in. That's where my sort of thought process was going.
fair enough. Well,
Kim Jong-un in a witch's hat.
It's just in case anybody hasn't seen it, because I know you two have. There's a website or a Tumblr, whatever it is, which is just Kim Jong-un pointing at things, and it's just all of the pictures of him just pointing at everything, and underneath is always just the caption of Kim Jong-un pointing at a cake, Kim Jong-un pointing at a rug, and it's just fucking
You know what my
hilarious.
favourite one is?
Well,
Kim Jong-un pointing at curtains.
yes, where he's got the smile on his face.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm glad you remember that one.
Yeah, I did. As soon as you said it, I can just picture it in my head now. I'd rather go to jail because, I mean, the same reason as John. I've never been there. And there's worse places that you could go than jail. 3 meals a day, bed to sleep on, plenty of labour. There's plenty of gangs you can join. These days they let you do studying and plenty of time for reading. I've really neglected my reading recently, so plenty of time for that.
And it's free.
And it's free, yeah, exactly. If I ended up accidentally screwing my life up, at least if I went to prison, I could better myself in prison and live rent free, and possibly have a better quality of life. I mean, I don't know if I'm pretty enough that I would get bothered to be like somebody's lady wife or not, but I'm sure that doesn't happen in all prisons. I'd be like, sorry.
I said I don't want to generalise, but I know out of the two of you, John would suffer worse.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Unwanted attention.
He's a beautiful man. That's why he doesn't want to go to prison. It's not that he wants to go to North Korea, but he'd rather make love to Kim Jong-un than the unknown in prison. That's all it is.
I've heard an interesting story that North Korea has one nightclub and they've only got one CD from which is pop music from the 1990s. That might be an interesting night out.
You hate pop music.
You hate the 90s.
Yeah. You hate nightclubs.
If I had to go to a club, which I probably wouldn't go to, but if I had to, how much more nostalgic could you get than a club that's just got one CD from the 90s?
It depends what songs are on that CD. It could be like all the B-sides that no one's ever heard of.
Well, you're only going to know by going, aren't you?
True.
How many discos are you going to go to in prison?
Have you watched Orange is the New Black? They're always having parties and getting up to hijinks.
Well, that's American ladies' prison.
And you know what the best thing about going to prison is? At some point, I'll get to be on TV where I meet Ross Kemp. Mic drop.
Oh, Matt wins. He's found my kryptonite. Oh, I was all set for North Korea, and I had my eyes open to the fact that Matt could turn his life around, and I was holding a torch for him to do so, and then he said he was going to meet Ross Kemp. Brilliant.
It just came to me, and I was like, thank you very much.
Oh, I'm too tired to suggest anything. Have either of you two got any recommendations?
Yeah. Don't record on the M1. That's my recommendation of the week.
I'm not on the M1, but from here I reckon I could throw a tennis ball over the bush onto the M1.
True. What have I experienced that was really good this week?
I'm not multitasking and driving. Safety first.
My suggestion of the week is batch cooking. Don't just make one of something.
Make 9!
Make all of something.
Jeez.
I've told the story about when I made the 150 bacon maple cupcakes at university. Whenever I bake cookies, not only do I make over 100 cookies, but I make enough cookie dough to freeze and give to friends as well. If you're going to do it anyway, why make 12 or 24? Make all of them. The reason you said 9? Because I decided to make lasagna, put them in the freezer. I've got some nice fresh homemade lasagna whenever I need it now. Same in that freezer drawer, I've got stew. But how many lasagnas did I make? 9. 9 lasagna. Because everyone knows when it comes to food, what's better than one of something? More.
Okay, point taken. I'm not going to argue with that, because that's your suggestion of the week. Okay, next question. Talking about putting things in boxes, would you rather be Hulk Hogan or The Undertaker?
Ooh. I mean, I'd rather be Ric Flair, but...
I deliberately didn't give you the option of Ric Flair.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if my headphones can take any more abuse.
I think Hulk Hogan just because I'm not as interested in as I was in wrestling, but he had quite an illustrious acting career afterwards and reality TV shows and things. And I'm not sure what The Undertaker's going to get up to after he's finished wrestling. I know he's semi-retired
He's
now.
still wrestling?
Yeah, he's semi-retired, I believe. But he seems to come back every WrestleMania.
It's because he's undead.
Well, yeah. Which is ironic that he's undead and he's an Undertaker.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a busman's holiday, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Have we lost... John, have we lost you?
Not lost me.
You've heard of these people?
I'm just thinking through all the reasons that I want to be the Undertaker.
And I like Hulk Hogan's thing he does where he leans, does the lunge on one side and spins his hand around and puts it up to his ear. I think that was Hulk Hogan. And he dresses in that awesome, yellow jumpsuit thing.
And rips his vests.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Hulk Hogan wears vests. That's a very you thing.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But he's got enough meat in his arms to tear them.
Yeah, and he was more fun. The Undertaker's very dark. He thought his brother everyone thought his brother had killed him, and then his brother buried him alive, and then suddenly his coffin appeared on stage and he got out of it, and it was like, oh, come on. And he's got a dad called Paul Bearer. I don't think that's his real name, but it seems to...
I don't think Hulk Hogan's first name is Hulk.
I think it's more likely than a guy just happening to be called Paul Bearer.
John, any input?
Yeah.
As he frantically Googles.
What is The Undertaker?
Well, no, I remember he was, theoretically brothers with Kane, who wore a mask, and Kane and The Undertaker sometimes used to chokeslam people.
That's very true.
Well done, John.
I've always wanted to chokeslam someone off a building.
Off a building?
Yeah, if you're going to end someone, do it right.
Fair enough.
Off the top of the Hell in the Cell?
No, off a building. He was very clear about that part.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I can award John the win for saying that he wants to murder people.
I didn't say I wanted to murder people.
It's not a big...
Well...
He wants to chokeslam them off of a bungalow.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm assuming, if you don't want to murder them. I think if you
out the window of a basement flat.
Yeah, I think if you get out up to 2 stories, then we're edging onto murder territory. So I think bungalow's your only safe option, or maybe a shed.
Shed's a building too.
I don't want to disclose it too much. I mean, surely wasn't his other move? Wasn't it called a tombstone? Didn't he
tombstone pile driver?
Didn't he drop people on their head?
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly dangerous. That's the kind of person I am. Reckless and dangerous.
You said it with such conviction, John, that I can't argue with you.
Yeah, it's definitely worrying just how much conviction he says it with. I'm genuinely worried he might now go off and do this.
I think how I might settle the argument is I need a video of you, Matt, tearing a vest, and then I need John to take a video of him rolling his eyes back into his skull.
True.
And then I can make my decision from there. Or if one of you can definitely say you can do the following, I'll take your word for it and give you the win.
Oh, I can definitely rip vests off myself. And don't forget, Hulk Hogan was in Rocky 3.
I thought that was Mr. T.
Yeah, there was more than one actor in Rocky 3. He was also And there was what was the Nanny film that he was in? Mr. Nanny.
Yeah. Okay.
Has the Undertaker been in any films?
I'm not sure.
Don't think. Oh, to be honest, I wouldn't know if he had. But the fact that we can't think of any is good because I've never wanted to be in a film.
Fair enough. I would argue just quickly back that if I remember correctly, but correct me if I'm wrong, John. But wasn't the Hulk Hogan's finishing move the big boot?
Was it the leg drop?
I think it was the big boot and the leg drop.
Kick someone in the face and then just like smash the thigh onto their neck.
Kick someone in the face and then jump on them arse first is essentially what it was. And I think
it's a very sort of everyman move. Everyone can do that. If you've had a few jars at the pub, and you get really rowdy and you decide to do that, you could do that in the street. I'm not sure that John could physically pick someone up by their throat and then drive them into the floor.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, John, if either of you
is winning right now.
If either of you pissed me off to the point that we were fighting, which would never happen, but I think I'd be a lot more successful at kicking one of you in the face than I would choke slamming you. Let alone tricking you onto the top of a shed first.
Okay. So while this juggernaut goes past, okay. Right, Matt, you win. You can be Hulk Hogan if I can be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Agreed.
Okay. This episode's getting away from me fast.
Well, you know.
It's because you started off the episode doing basically a Ralph Wiggum impression because you're so fond of boxes that... We're going to the box factory! Yay! Boxes! That's what I'd blame it on anyway.
Yeah, John's got a deep-seated hatred of Ralph Wiggum. That's the problem.
Yeah. Just anybody called Ralph.
Since when?
Since now.
Oh, okay. Fine, since now. Cool.
If it's in the podcast, it's canon.
Oh, God. Right, okay. Third and final question. John, would you like some redemption?
That's not a would you rather question.
Is that...
I'm asking if he's ready to fight for it.
Oh. What, like choke slam me up to the top of a shed? Try it, John. I'll kick you in the face.
If that's what it takes.
Redemption sounds a bit like a wrestling move.
Okay.
Oh my God, he's going to do it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. John's killed him with the redemption. John has killed him with the redemption. And then you've got the Spanish announcers next to them doing the Spanish thing, which is always hilarious. But I don't know Spanish, so I'm not going to try.
Okay, would you rather be immune to bruises or paper cuts?
Ooh.
I'd rather be immune to paper cuts, to be honest, because bruises are cool stories.
Are they? Are they?
Well, more than a paper cut is. If you are unfortunate enough to have a paper cut and you're around some people and you sort of scrape your hand against something over the paper cut and you scream out loud, ah!
Like a girl.
Yeah. And the people around you go, oh, what's happened? And you say, oh, I just rubbed this against my paper cut. They go, oh, that's really boring. If you say, oh yeah, I just bashed my knee into that bruise that I got from choke slamming someone off of a building, that's a great story.
Right, when's the last time somebody was interested in a bruise you had, I guess would be my first question.
More recently than they've been interested in my paper cuts.
False. No one has ever cared about paper cuts.
Or bruises. But, I mean, I guess
I don't know.
sometimes...
Some of the crazy ones that turn yellow people are interested in.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's a bad... When they're like really big. But I'd rather not get bruises because... Wait. Yeah, I'd rather not get bruises. I forgot how you'd answered it. I was like, wait. No, I'd rather not get bruises. Good, because that's what I'd rather not have. Because bruises is internal bleeding. And I know that's where the blood's supposed to be. But It's internal bleeding. That's what it is. It's where you burst all your capillaries. And that's not good. I'd rather have external bleeding.
Surely any type of bleeding is bad.
Yeah, but internal's worse than external.
I'm not a doctor, but I know if I lose a pint of blood on the floor, I'd be a lot more worried than if I lost a pint of blood inside me anyway.
Really? What about if it was into your lung?
I've never bruised my lungs, so I don't really know. And anyway, that's like internal hemorrhage rather than a bruise.
I'm not a medicine man. What are they called? Doctors. But I'm pretty sure that internal bleeding is worse than external bleeding. I'm going to Google it because I've never Googled anything before.
How long have you lived up north for? Long enough to forget about the healthcare system and what the professionals that look after us are called.
No, I just forgot the word for a second, right? It's been a long day.
Do you go into the village and go to the local shaman, have him rattle some bones at you and then read some tea leaves?
No, of course not.
Not this week.
So, the other thing to keep in mind is that when you see a bruise on your leg or your arm or whatever, the first thing, there are two things that could potentially pop into your mind, and they both could entertain you for at least a minute. One is, how did I get that? And then you've got to think through all the gnarly things you've done and potentially tell the story of all the gnarly things you've done to the person next to you. Or two, I wonder how much this will hurt when I press it. Whereas you would never do that with a paper cut because A, you definitely remember when you got that paper cut because they hurt like a bitch and bleed a lot for no reason. And
you got thin skin.
And well, it doesn't really matter whether you've got thin skin or not. If you're saying you've got one, it hurt. Trust me. And B, you're not going to press it either. That's not interesting. That's going to make it bleed again.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but after a quick Google search, it says that even a small case of internal bleeding can cause death within 6 hours.
Asking about a simple bruise.
Yes, which is
like if you got hit in the arm with a squash ball, not you're in a car accident and your steering wheel jammed you in the ribs.
A bruise is internal bleeding, though. But fine, I'll talk about.
John, how many paper cuts have you got on your jugular? Start fighting that corner.
No, well, fine. How many bruises have you had in the last 6 months? Against how many paper cuts have you had in the last 6 months? I'm willing to bet more bruises than paper cuts, so I'm just playing the numbers game.
Nil on both counts.
One paper cut every 6 months against, say, 5 bruises in 6 months. And in fact, I think 5 is probably generous because, as you said, bruises sometimes just appear just to remind you that you're human. Or in your wife's case, when you jump on the bed feet first and land on her.
How many bruises has Kirsten got?
All of them. She's just one dark purple human now.
Oh,
I know, but we've asked him to not get into bed that way, and he's just having none of it.
Oh yeah, as a footnote from last episode, I did actually talk to John's wife about jumping into bed 2-footed, and he does. He literally leaps off the floor and throws himself into the bed, whether she's asleep or not.
Fair enough. So yeah.
Okay, I can't remember who's chosen what, but I've decided on the winner. Chicks dig scars. Bruises can do one. So
you'd rather not have bruises?
Yes.
Yeah!
Right.
Oh, finally. It's been a while since I've won an episode. I'm very, very happy.
This is the first time I've actually thought about which one I specifically choose and actually made my decision before I even asked you the questions.
Oh, good.
There's a first time for everything.
There's a first time for everything. You've heard it here first. Only one of the Johns is against internal bleeding. John wants to choke slam you off the top of a very tall building and cause you internal bleeding. That's his life ambition, folks. Every single one of you that's listening, he wants to do that to you. A vote for John is a vote for internal hemorrhage.
You say this, but your mum listens, and your mum is a very proud and avid follower. So, are you going to let him choke-slam your mum through the top of a shed?
It's not a question of am I going to let him, is she going to let him? And the answer to that question is fucking try it. My mum will chokeslam you off a building.
I'd love to see that in a Royal Rumble.
We just get a message like, you need to go to intensive care quick if you want to say goodbye to John. Oh my God, what happened? He tried to jump your mother and it did not go well. Oh, okay.
I put him through a garden table.
Yeah. Her and one of her mates 3D'd him through the patio furniture.
a Stone Cold Stun onto a deck chair.
Oh, amazing. One day, maybe someone will animate that scene for us. Any animators out of there, please get in touch and ask for a picture of my mother and John, and please do as a little cartoon of my mum kicking 10 tons of shit out of John. John's gone all silent because he doesn't like losing, and the only way that he could argue this is to then turn around and go, I could have your mum in a fight, so he can't win.
Oh, yeah, oh. There's all sorts of wrong and bad of us to do that.
Yeah. Sorry, Mum.
Sorry, not John's mum.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Pleasure as always. And these two have been John, and I've not been. See you next week.